Autoline Daily is brought to you by Borg Warner, feel good about driving. Bridgestone, your journey, our passion. And by Dow Automotive Systems, improving durability and increasing design flexibility with Betamate structural adhesives at dowbetamate.com.
Welcome to Autoline Daily, where we keep you up on the latest news from all across the automotive industry. We also have some cool barn finds coming up later in the show, but we've also got a lot of important news, so let's get to it. Japanese automakers are struggling to sell cars in China because of a backlash against Japan about who owns some islands in the South China Sea. But now Nissan says that slump is coming to an end. Even though Nissan sales fell close to 20% in March, it expects sales to rebound in the next 3 months. The company is watching retail sales very closely and says they're growing. Unlike the rest of the world, in China, only shipments from the car companies to the dealers are publicly reported, not retail sales. Only the car companies know what their retail sales are, and that's why Nissan has a heads up of what people are really buying right now. With gasoline prices so high in the U.S. market, you'd think that people would have been out buying more hybrids, plug-ins, and EVs last month. But that's not what happened. Sales dropped nearly 4%. And this despite the addition of more hybrid models like the Ford C-Max, Lexus ES, Toyota Avalon, and Volkswagen Jetta. Even more astonishing, Toyota's and Lexus's hybrids, electrics, and plug-ins fell 15%. The Prius alone was down 22%. This is not what anyone was expected, so we'll have to see if it's just a 1-month aberration or a sign the segment has hit a plateau. But if you break out sales of just electric and plug-ins from that total, they were up 40%. That's largely thanks to more models coming into the market and a particularly strong month for the Nissan Leaf. 2,200 were sold. By comparison, sales of the Chevy Volt were down 35%. But I wouldn't read too much into that. Sales of the Volt and Leaf fluctuate wildly, and next month, these roles could be reversed. Despite a big jump in sales, plug-ins and EVs still account for a very small sliver of the market, about 0.4%. Speaking of EVs, there's another one joining the mix. Last night in the main lobby of Detroit's iconic Fisher Building, electric car maker Detroit Electric pulled the wraps off its all-new SP01. You might remember the name Detroit Electric. It built 13,000 electric vehicles between 1907 and 1939. However, the SP01 is a far cry from those vehicles. It's a 2,300-pound two-seat sports car that has an all-aluminum bonded structure covered in a carbon fiber body. We think it's based off the Lotus Exige. The car is powered by a 150 kilowatt electric motor, can get to 60 miles an hour in 3.7 seconds, and has a range of up to 180 miles. The first SP01 will hit showrooms sometime in August or September with a price tag of $135,000, and the company says it'll have some more announcements to make at the Shanghai Auto Show. Earlier in the year, Ford revealed what the next F-150 will look like with the Atlas concept. And now the company is showing off sketches of what ultimately became the Atlas. One of the original concepts was called the Bullet Train. As you can see, it's a sleek, aerodynamic-looking truck. The other concept, called the Locomotive, is closer in style to the Atlas. The sketches also reveal ideas that Ford had for the cargo area, like tailgate storage and a lighting system. As all you know, we love getting photos of your cool automotive encounters in your everyday life, and this vain edition of Barn Finds comes courtesy of German fan Mirko Reinhardt, who recently returned from a trip to Hong Kong. In addition to a plethora of ridiculously awesome cars, vanity plates are rampant. Beetle convertibles are popular, both old and new. In fact, this one is a self-professed babe magnet. All right. And wouldn't you like to have a license plate number this easy to remember? The guy in this Mercedes is just begging for a bout of road rage when he cuts you off. Ha! By the way, the rumors are confirmed. Infiniti is the brand of choice of Beelzebub himself. Meanwhile, the Godfather has fallen on hard times. Toyota, the family choice. Thanks again to Mirko for sharing these. You can get in on the fun too. Send your finds to ViewerMail at Autoline.tv. Coming up next, we're going to take a deeper look into the new Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Dow Automotive Systems, driving solutions in automotive, commercial transportation, and aftermarket with innovative products like Betamate structural adhesives. Lighter, stronger, safer. DowBetamate.com.
Jeep just launched a significant refresh of the Grand Cherokee. The styling for the 2014 model remains fairly similar. There are a few updates to the exterior and interior design, but for the most part all the big changes are under the skin. And none is bigger than the addition of a 3-liter V6 diesel engine with 240 horsepower, 420 pound-feet of torque, and a towing capacity of 7,400 pounds. Its EPA estimated fuel economy is 22 miles per gallon in the city and 30 on the highway for the 4x2 model and slightly less for the 4x4. The Grand Cherokee is also available with a 3.6-liter Pentastar V6 and a 5.7-liter V8. Each engine is mated to an all-new 8-speed automatic transmission. I drove the Pentastar V6 and the diesel. Both were impressive, especially the diesel. The V6 was a bit sluggish going up hills, but overall it had more than enough power. The diesel was a blast with its instant torque. The only downside is it's a bit noisy at low speeds, but not really noticeable once you get going. Jeep also added a few new features for the off-road crowd. Previous models could control the speed of the vehicle going downhill. Now it can control speeds uphill. And the 2014 Grand Cherokee features 3 4x4 systems.
So, Grand Cherokee is known and has legendary off-road capability. And we're going to continue to expand with our QuadraDrive 1, which is a single-speed transfer case that has the ability to transfer torque 50-50 front to rear. Then we step up to the QuadraDrive 2. And the QuadraDrive 2 is a 2-speed transfer case with a 273 low gear. And the big benefit between the 1 and the 2 is now we can split torque front to rear at 100% rear torque. And then we step it up one more time with the QuadraDrive. And what the QuadraDrive does is it brings in a rear ELSD, which is electronic limited slip differential. Now I can move torque from front to rear and from right to left. So at any given time, I can find the wheel that has the most tractive capability and deliver torque to that wheel, which makes the system basically, it's unstoppable.
I got to drive the diesel off-road. It performed very well and smoothly tackled the mud and rocky obstacles. Inside there's a number of upgrades, mostly with improved materials and new trim accents. It's also got a new 8.4-inch touchscreen. The latest version of the Grand Cherokee is more upscale, and nor is it more evident than with the price. It starts just under $30,000, but the top trim V6 model we tested costs $52,000. And not surprisingly, the diesel ain't cheap either. It's a $4,500 option. But even still, Chrysler expects to see up to a 15% take rate for it. You can find the 2014 Jeep Grand Cherokee in dealerships right now.
Thanks for that report, Seamus. I, for one, cannot wait to drive that Grand Cherokee, especially the diesel version. Hey, before we go, I want to remind you that we've got a very interesting Autoline After Hours tonight. Our guest is Kirk Stoidel, the head of Michigan's Department of Transportation. We're going to be talking a lot about roads tonight and how the construction industry is coming up with very interesting ways of building new bridges far faster than they do today. And by the way, how are we going to pay for all this? What about taxing cars by how many miles they drive? All that and more is coming up, so join me and auto extremist Peter DeLorenzo for some of the most interesting discussions about cars. And that wraps up today's show. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.